You see, Moy was then Home Minister, and he was the one, Interior and so on, and he was the one who had to say that JM had gone to Zambia. And when it all blew up, he came into the house, and you should find it in Hansard. He stammered that he didn't know that this was not true.
It is Kissinger, isn't it? And I was surprised because I was still wondering how I'm going to explain.
It was Kissinger, right? Because I just now understood he has died, and then he said, yeah, you're right.
It became also very disturbing to find the Chief Security Officer of Parliament buildings, Sambro Okoth, was now here with a new label of mortuary attendant.
5 days after JM's murder, President Jomo Kenyatta, while on a tour of the Rift Valley, made remarks that left many guessing. The telling remarks appear to have been sending a coded message. Kenyatta spoke about Lucifer, the fallen angel. Jomo Kenyatta narrated to a crowd of dancers the biblical story of the angel who he described as the favorite archangel of the king. The angel, however, became a devil when he revolted and started demanding for too much and stepping on everyone's toes. Kenyatta told the crowd the devil was hurled from heaven for his wickedness and revolt against God. Kenyatta's biblical story was capped with a warning that the government will have no mercy on any individual out to disrupt peace and harmony. It wasn't until 5 days later after Kenyatta's remarks that the body of JM Kariuki surfaced at the city mortuary with 5 bullet holes. Kenyatta told the country JM's murder was the most cruel and appealed for calm. Operating under fear, suppressed by heavy police presence, in late March 1975, the family of JM Kariuki ferried his remains for burial.
I remember as we were driving, there was people who had lined up on the road. And when we would pass, they would just break down, some would faint. And it was so confusing for me because I was wondering, when did they get to know my dad, you know? I was really wondering what's going on. And these people just lining up. And I was thinking, was it for us? You know, I was really wondering.
Thousands of mourners turned up for the politically charged burial of the slain member of parliament. University students were chanting anti-Kenyatta slogans. There was more to come.
I remember Moi Kibaki and that statement that he made, that even if it takes 100 years, we want to know who and why was JM killed.
Apart from Simeon Nyachai, none of JM Kariuki's friends in the government, now turned enemies, showed up to send him off.
When he stood up to speak, everybody shouted him. Everybody said, no, we don't want that. The university students, they were like, no, we don't want messages from murderers. And, you know, I was very shocked. It was my first time to witness open rebellion against a head of state. And I didn't know how that was going to add to value to us or make it worse for us. I didn't know. And so the message was never read. And Nyachai went on to say other things. He didn't convey the message of condolence.
The only government officer who had been sent by the government to represent the government was the then provincial commissioner for Central Province. No, it could be Rift Valley. He was booed when he tried to read Kenyatta's speech, and he had to stop. But he was a good friend of the family. He was not harassed or anything, but we could not accept anything like that. It had gone on for so long. The government was trying to eliminate JM in very many ways. They tried to silence him politically. They were not able. They tried to get him either to run away or link him with some funny issues, and they were not able. So it was very clear. JM knew they were going to kill him. And in fact, according to some people, he told them, no, I am not going to run away, because if I do, they're going to kill me out there, and you people will be told that I was hanging around with somebody's wife and the fellow just shot me. And that will not be true. I will die here. He was determined to die here. He knew they were after him. What we don't know is the particular person who pulled the trigger. But we know the government did it. And the whole world knows that.
JM's short but illustrious career came to an abrupt end.
Nobody saw him as the politician of only one people. Never. He was a national figure. They couldn't handle him with detention. They couldn't handle him within the constituency. They couldn't impoverish him. He had his wealth, which was independent of them. They felt in the end that he was a threat to the central position that Kenyatta had manufactured as Kenya's sole hero of independence, as Kenya's sole political determinant. And here was a person younger, more charismatic now than Kenyatta was in his old age. And he was a threat to the old man's standing. He was a threat to the family, to the preeminence of the family.
President Jomo Kenyatta, who had in the previous years never hidden his liking and fondness of JM, did not attend his funeral. Apart from asking the public to volunteer information about the Member of Parliament's death, Kenyatta said little about a man who worked for him as his private secretary, a national youth leader, and his assistant minister for agriculture.
When JM died, the mood was and instantly became an unspoken rejection of Kenyatta personally and of his style of government totally. People went about their business, but everybody's face, if the subject not only of JM's passing but also of the cover-up was a pushback of all that Kenyatta stood for.
On the 21st of March 1975, Kenyatta drove home his earlier warning on those out to destabilize his government. Kenyatta staged a military parade at high noon from the Kenya Cinema in the Central Business District. Kenyatta was adorned in military gear and accompanied by his generals and then Vice President Daniel Moi.
I would say it was an active rejection. And that is why he had that parade to show I can still muster this and don't try anything. It was,
6 days later, Kenyatta left Nairobi for Mombasa for the Easter holidays. Those who sanctioned JM Kariuki's assassination tried every trick in the book to cover up his murder. A parliamentary select committee was set up by Parliament, but President Jomo Kenyatta kept an eye on it. CaseFiles, JM Investigations continues next week.